How are you? It's me, it's Craig. Nice to see you. Welcome to the flooded empire that is the Flooded Empire. I'm Craig at Fludded, and I've just seen the news breaking 7 minutes ago that Gary Lineker, the new rules for BBC flagship presenters after there was a social media row. It seems to be the BBC have now decided that they're calling them flagship presenters are now allowed to say what they like to a certain degree. Let's take a look at it. So we've got Gary Lineker, new rules for BBC flagship presenters after social media row. High-profile presenters should be allowed to express views on issues and policies, but stop short on political campaigning. A new BBC report says new rules have been published for BBC flagship presenters following a row over Gary Lineker's social media post. So far, off the bat, it seems that this is just like utter cowardice by the BBC. It's like they are deliberately trying to work out a way that they can keep these precious high-profile presenters because they want to keep the ratings high. They want to compete with the other channels, and that is a mistake. They shouldn't have to do that. They should downsize, in fact. But I can talk a little bit more about that in a minute. It comes after a review into BBC social media guidelines published by former ITM boss John Hardy. Those who work in BBC News and current affairs, such as news presenters, are subject to stricter rules around impartiality when using social media. Quite right, too. The flagship programmes include Match of the Day, which Lineker presents, and The Apprentice with Alan Sugar. There will be particular responsibility to respect the BBC's impartiality because of the profile on the BBC. The new guidance recognises the importance of freedom of expression. But says that while a programme is on air and for a 2-week window before and after the series, presenters on flagship shows must not endorse or attack a political party for 2-week window. Before and after the series, presenters on flagship shows must not endorse or attack a political party. Do you think that when the new series starts, the posts are going to be retweeted? I'm trying not to say tweeted anymore, but retweeted, showing you what they had said about said political party, the last series. Of course they will. It'll just be like delayed a year, and they're not going to be able to answer back to that. They must, because it's within that 2-week window either side. They must also not criticize the character of an individual, politicians in the UK, or comment on any issue of political debate during an election period, or take up an official role for a campaigning group. Where is this report? The other flagship TV shows are Antique Roadshow, Dragon's Den, The One Show, MasterChef, Top Gear, Strictly Come Dancing, Radio 1's Breakfast Show, blah, blah, blah. The review of BBC social media guidelines was announced in the wake of a furore over Gary Lineker's posts earlier this year. The row erupted in March after the Match of the Day host wrote that the government's language about a new asylum policy was not dissimilar to that of Germany in the 1930s, basically the Nazis. His comments were criticised by ministers in Downing Street, but also attracted widespread support on social media. The BBC said Lineker had broken its guidelines on impartiality and took him off air, but returned a week later. Shall we find out what the BBC's impartiality rules are? Let me just copy it into here and paste it out, or paste it in. Let's have a look at the impartiality rules by the BBC. Presumably this is new. The BBC is committed to achieving due impartiality in all of its output. This commitment is fundamental to our reputation, our values, and the trust. The thing is, if these guys are the ones who are creating the cancel culture, they're creating cancel culture for things that happened years and years ago. They're cancelling people for things they did years and years ago or things they said. Does that mean that if it's not on, if they said it ages ago and they haven't said it now, or they've apologized or whatever, that the BBC will turn a blind eye to it? Or do you think the BBC will just bow down and take the knee to the furore, the word it uses, that goes on online whenever somebody who works for the BBC says something out of line? Due impartiality, usually involves more than one simple matter of balance. Let's see if it's got something. Guidelines. Do you wait? Impartiality does not necessarily require a range of perspectives or opinions to be covered in equal proportions, either across our output as a whole or within a single program, webpage, or item. Instead, we should seek to achieve due weight. For example, minority views should not necessarily be given similar prominence or weight to those with more support. My God, how hard is it to make a TV show these days? Controversial subjects. Let's see if they've got something here on your fancy dancy personal view content, partiality in series, and overtime. This is all kind of new, I think. It's like impartiality's not had such a big section within the BBC guidelines. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go through it all, but it's very clear that this has created a huge problem for the BBC. I'm going to pore over this and sort of get an opinion of it. One of the things they flagged here says where content would not normally include political issues, political opinion, or politicians, for example, sport, quiz, panel shows, factual entertainment, content producers must consult the chief advisor politics in advance before inviting a politician to take part in their output or before accepting a request to participate. This reference is irrespective of whether the contribution to the output is itself political, where there is a proposal to involve in such output others who may have taken that. It's so lawyered up, isn't it? It's fascinating. This is the next stage is going to be when people like look at me. I'm here with a way too bushy moustache and beard, talking to you on the platform of YouTube. Now, say I had 4 million people reacting to what I say, maybe 1 million of them agreeing with me and going on social media, and suddenly there's 1 million tweets out there all saying something similar to what I'm saying. That's quite a power to have on YouTube. How long is it? And almost to the extent of more powerful than anything Gary Lineker does or says on the BBC. So how long is it before the powers that be decide, well, we need to look at YouTube because it's broadcasting. It's basically, what's the difference? I mean, look at mainstream broadcasters now are putting headphones on like this, getting microphones like this, putting them in front of the camera and doing what I'm doing, calling it a podcast. So they're mimicking what's happening in alternative media, and alternative media are doing their best to mimic what's happening in mainstream, which is we're seeing on GB News all the mistakes being made over there as they're trying to look mainstreamy, but essentially they're this. And we have to sort of wait and see what happens. But the rules are certainly going to start being applied to people like me on YouTube. This is broadcasting. We should have the restrictions that come with broadcasting. That's what I want. And what you'll see is the quality of stuff from like little programs or videos like the one I'm making now will improve, because I'm going to have to read up and learn what I can and can't say. And what that will do is make me more of a solid producer, and it will create a lot more credibility about the sum of content that's on YouTube. And then if you want all the edgy stuff where they're swearing and effing and blinding and doing and giving some really edgy views about politics and religion and race and all that, you'll have to go off to Rumble. But I can warrant that Rumble will soon have to follow. All the platforms that allow you to stream live will come under broadcasting code sooner or later. It's inevitable. It's coming. And I can't wait for it because I'm ready for it. And those people who are worried about it are worried about it because they've built up a platform for themselves or a business based on them being edgy, based on them being able to talk the way they talk and to say the things they say. And they will have to adapt to the way the broadcasters do, the mainstream, the rules the mainstream people have. It's coming. Interested to know what you think. I don't like the idea of flagship presenters. My opinion is that the BBC should be generating talent, not purchasing talent that's been generated by other companies. It should be world class in finding new talent. Shouldn't be afraid of putting people who aren't famous in front of flagship shows. Let ITV and Channel 4 and all the other companies do their make their billions on advertising with those guys. I can guarantee that the BBC will create stars, and if they leave because the money's not so good at the BBC, leave. It's fine. We'll create a new star, and all the future will have a bunch of celebrities who have all been grounded at the BBC because the BBC's not taking the knee. So that's what the BBC needs to do: be world class, be bold. Have the confidence to generate your own stars. Don't be afraid of putting people that nobody knows in front of shows like, Come Dancing, Celebrity Come Dancing. They'll soon become famous enough. And then when, 150 grand, 200 grand a year isn't enough for them, say bye-bye. But I can guarantee that there will be a sense of quality attached to being somebody who started out at the Beeb. That's how it used to be. It can be that way again, but you need to downsize and stop bending over for people like Gary Lineker. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. I love to know, and I do read every word.